Geospatial and SCP analysis of the Penny and DeSoto sites at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Florida, by Wesley Wyatt, Gabriel Ryley, Antonio Morales, and Brenda Vasquez, at the Department of Anthropology, College of Sciences, University of Central Florida. Our faculty advisor is Dr. Sarah Barber. The mission of the Cape Canaveral Archaeological Mitigation Project, also known as CCAMP, is to collect and record data to mitigate the impact of climate change on archaeological sites at Cape Canaveral. The project focuses on conducting geospatial and shovel test pit analysis at two key sites, Penny and DeSoto. The Penny and DeSoto sites, located along the Indian River, span the range of the Malabar period from 2000 BCE up to the 19th to 20th century. Upon excavation, these sites were found to contain historic and prehistoric artifacts. One population of interest that we have studied for this project are the early indigenous Ayes who inhabited the area as early as 1000 BCE until they disappeared from around the 18th century, either assimilating into other tribes or relocating elsewhere. Their presence here can be seen in the abundance of St. John's check pottery found in the area, as well as a variety of middens containing such things as small mammal bones and coquina shells. Our approach involves creating density and elevation maps based on STP data collected in 2024 from UCF, as well as data gathered in 2020 from the University of South Florida. And finally, data collected during the current field season. Additionally, the data will be used to document the quantity and weight of artifacts found in the SCPs, allowing us to generate artifact concentration maps. Excavation. For our project and presentation, we divided our workflow following our research process. Phase 1 of an archaeological survey is designed to identify areas that may contain archaeological material. These areas are typically documented and evaluated through the use of shovel test pits, STPs, small systematic excavations, usually measuring 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. Previous research conducted at DeSoto included a series of SCPs which helped define the spatial boundaries of the project area. Figure 1 shows the location of all confirmed SCPs dug at DeSoto. Geospatial data analysis. Next step is acquiring all the data needed to proceed with our research and analysis. This slide shows the steps taken to obtain the data: conducting background research to identify the area of study, documenting geospatial data at the exact locations using Global Navigation Satellite System GNSS tools such as the tool we use called Arrow Gold RTK GNSS receiver, merging new and previous geospatial data to provide a visualization of collected material in the form of maps. Laboratory artifact analysis. The next step after we've collected all the necessary data from these sites, we proceed to do the laboratory artifact analysis. This is where we sort artifacts, count and weigh artifacts, log data into Excel sheets, and resolve any limitations encountered during the data collection. Once we have analyzed the content, then we can create maps to create a visual representation and geographical result at the site level. For our results, we observed that the elevation map for DeSoto, created from LiDAR raw data sourced from the Florida Geospatial Open Data Portal, enabled us to visually identify key areas of interest and map the distribution of positive and negative artifact findings using STP analysis from previous seasons. Our positive STPs are predominantly located along the shoreline, while negative findings become more concentrated as we move inland across the site. Based on our observations, the elevation patterns appear to reflect natural formations such as ridges rather than man-made mounds. We applied the inverse distance weighting IDW method to visually analyze the northern section of DeSoto, helping us identify the most likely areas for further artifact discovery within the site. This approach highlighted concentrations of ceramics, bone, and lithics predominantly in the northern part, while shell fragments were found throughout most of the area. Results. The results for the Penny site are inconclusive, as this is an ongoing project and the SCP data from Penny is unable to be used for mapping quite yet. This has been due to missing STP forms, missing bags, and data being incorrectly labeled. Because of the missing data, it is unlikely that the results from the Penny site will be conclusive by the end of the current CCAMP season. Out of the data that has been collected so far, there are high amounts of ceramics, bone, and shell. Once the work done on Penny is fully complete, mapping techniques and programs will be able to generate visual maps to show the densities and locations of these artifacts, just as maps were created for DeSoto. The work done so far at Penny could be used by new seasons of CCAMP and be picked up where the project left off, meaning that future work can be done to complete the Penny data to create accurate and presentable results. Conclusion. In conclusion, there was a lack of historic artifacts in the northern part of DeSoto, which was worked on by previous years of CCAMP. There was a very small quantity of things like plastic that amounted to milligrams, found in transect 12 SCPJ3. There was no glass nor metal that was discovered. This gives us valuable information about settlements in this area and tells us that there was likely not much post-colonial human activity here. There is clear evidence of indigenous pre-colonial human settlement. The one small lithic artifact is telling, along with the wealth of ceramic, shell, fauna materials, primarily fish, and charcoal, which all demonstrate indigenous activity clearly. Almost all materials, other than a negligible few, were cultural rather than historic. It is unlikely that there was much historic settlement, as the evidence mostly shows prehistoric activity. The majority of these ceramic appears to be standard St. John's plain. Without any further analysis like radiocarbon dating of artifacts buried alongside the pottery, which is outside of the scope of this project, this simply tells us by seriation that these settlements were likely sometime between 1000 BCE and 1500 CE. Based solely on the SCPs with the most valuable information coming from all these ceramics, we cannot give a more specific date for the occupations of the site. St. John's Plain was a common ceramic throughout both the St. John's 1 and St. John's 2 periods, so all can be given as the wide St. John's range of roughly 1000 BCE to 1500 CE. Interestingly, the SCPs dug by USF further to the south than the CCAMP SCPs tell a different story. A decent amount of glass and metal were found. This indicates that there was a greater historic presence the further south you go within the boundaries of the DeSoto Grove site. However, the majority of ceramic found was either simply St. John's Plain or coeval ceramic types like Tomoko Plain and Glades Plain, which do not help narrow down the range of dating by seriation. Our interpretation is thus that the settlements in the northern half of DeSoto are primarily pre-colonial in nature, with the most recent human activity occurring in the southern regions of the site.